Ciao amici e benvenuti nella Peso sulla Luna. Hello friends. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know from my attempt at an Italian introduction to this video that this is my series in which I use Terre de Marseille adjacent, and antique Italian decks to help me find a concise message from my larger weekly spread. And I've done my larger weekly spread already, and I think the title of that spread is going to be Inner Conflict. I think that's the title. And it was a brand new spread for me. This is a spread that I've never tried before, and I think it works okay. I'm pretty happy with the results. It really does take a lot of brain work for me to read that spread. And just in case you have not seen this week's spread, I highly recommend that you go do that. So I'll put a card up here for you to hop on over and take a look at that spread. I call it my 5 element spread so far. I might want to rename this spread, but for now I'm calling it my 5 element spread. And just in case you have seen it, now remember, you don't have to watch the big spread videos all in one sitting. You can break it up into bits. Watch 10 minutes here, watch 5 minutes there, watch 15 minutes at another time, right? And in case you have done that and you want a refresher of, yeah, I saw it, but what was it all about? Let me give you a little bit of a breakdown. So what we had was a lot of ill-dignified cards together in this week's spread. Particularly, we started off in the spirit with discomfort, let's say, between aspects of self, with our desire to leap into the unknown and our desire to move forward slowly and steadily. Now, there is a lot of dissatisfaction in this week's spread. And that dissatisfaction is not necessarily because everything is bad. Yeah, we had some potential abundance that is on the surface, but below that surface there is this fire to do which is being stifled because this isn't the time to do it. We notice that even though there may be abundance, and maybe we don't see abundance, but if we do see abundance, we also see that this is not the right time. Even though there is abundance, it's still not right. It's still not the way it's supposed to be. It's not the way things should be, if that makes sense. Or we see that the abundance is everywhere else and not here. And that leads to discomfort, leads to sorrow, which is blocking our ability to express our inner passions, and perhaps rightly so. This is not the time for those passions to create, because at this time, with our state, where we are, how we're being in the world, anything we create is going to be dissatisfying. And yet, we're given the indication that we want to get our crap together, to get up from the table and walk into a different room, do something new, something different. Not crazy, we want to stay balanced, but we want to do something different. Take a leap, not necessarily into the unknown, just into something new, something different. Because there are aspects of ourselves that are right now not ready for unknown. Yeah, we want to move at a pace, to walk deliberately, carefully, in balance. If that makes sense. That's what this week's spread seemed to be pointing to in many different ways, pointing to that same thing, I think. So, now, you noticed that I gave an Italian introduction to this week's video, and you'll see why in just a moment. What am I going to do? Well, first I'm going to thank you. I'm going to thank you for hitting the thumbs up button and for subscribing to the channel if you have not subscribed. It really does help the channel when you do that, and thank you very much for doing that. Thank you. You are a gift and a blessing to me, and hopefully I can offer something that is of value to you. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the question I ask every week. What is the central message of this week's five element spread? And then I'll show you the cards and we'll talk about the cards. Okay? So friends, here we go. Here's what I just said I'd give you. What do you think of that deck? Okay, those decks. What do you think of those decks? But they don't look Italian? Well, okay. So, the deck I'm using is a reprint by Giordano Berti, and it's a deck called the Tarot Orientale, but it was a deck created in Italy. It was created in Turin in the middle or late 1800s, and it's a gorgeous deck. It's a fun deck. It's from a time in Italy when all things Chinese were popular. Yeah, there was a big trend for importing Chinese porcelain and adding Chinese silk to clothes and decorations in the home, etc. So one of the expressions of that is this tarot deck, which is the Tarot Orientale. But again, it's an Italian deck. So we had, what was the other? Oh, yes. There were 3 cards from that. And at the bottom, there was a card from an oracle deck produced by Patrick Valenza over at Deviant Moon called Mildred Payne's It's one of the Mildred Payne oracle decks. And there'll be a link in the description box below. So look at the description box below to get a link to get the deck by Giordano Berti, the Tarot Orientale, and a link for the Oracle deck at Deviant Moon. Okay, so that's all in the box below. And you saw, from left to right, we got 3 cards from the Tarot deck: Justice, 3 of Coins, and the 8 of Wands. And it's interesting. Now, I really hesitated. I really wanted to pull a card on the other side of the Justice card to see what is being balanced, but then I decided not to. I decided that the way I would read this, because Justice really is facing forward to me, that I would read the next 2 cards, which were both small cards, right? There are the 3 and the 8, as the things that are being balanced, even though we're reading them in that line of progression. Another thing that is interesting is that Adjustment, which is the Harris Crowley version of Justice, was a very important card, I believe, in this week's larger spread. So having that Justice card being pulled out was also interesting. So here we have the Justice card from the Tarot Orientale. Beautiful card. You see the monkey sitting on what could be, I don't know, it kind of looks like a stylized mushroom to me. But it's not. It's a column, it's a plinth. And you see that the monkey is holding the sword in one hand and the scales of justice in the other, right? Beautiful card. It's kind of dark. I don't know if you can see the creature really is a monkey or not. It is a monkey, but I know the tone is very dark and you might not be able to see the monkey's face very clearly. But trust me, it's a monkey. And what does justice mean in the Tarot de Marseille tradition? It could be perfection, also harmony and balance. We've got those ideas in most justice cards, I believe. Balance. But also maturity is called for here. There are cosmic laws that could be in play. But also rationality and reasoning by rules and norms. We want to have a really clear, balanced mind. And hold the stuff that's around us in harmony with perfection. All things that were very strongly indicated in this week's larger 5-element spread. And so the next thing, what's being balanced? Now, what is being balanced? Well, the next thing being balanced is the three of coins. And this is different from a Tarot de Marseille three of coins, right? The three of coins in the Tarot de Marseille looks like a triangle. There would be one coin at the top and two at the bottom. Here we've got a line. So it's a little different. And yet it's beautifully decorated. And we do see the three coins. They're very clear. The three of coins is investment. It's the two creating the third. And we can still get that, I believe. The two at the bottom, let me see, I don't want the card in my hand to fly off onto the floor. But these two at the bottom are joined, right? We could see that these two are creating the third at the top in a way. Even though these two are not turned sideways, they are bound differently by the decorative floral elements, right? Not floral, the decorative vine element. Does that make sense? Can you see that the two below are joined and perhaps give rise to that third? We could still get that idea. So we have investments here, perhaps. Starting a project, starting a business, or perhaps that new thing is giving us our first rewards. There could be a material investment and the first returns, maybe the first profits or the first losses are potential here. We have the decision to do something with unknown results. And that was really strongly indicated in this week's spread, that we do something new. We move into a new room. Not completely leaping wildly into the unknown, like that's one aspect that is in tension with the aspect of I want to say plotting, but deliberate forward movement of a Tauran, and the desire to leap into the unknown of the Aquarian. Now there was that tension there, and I think this card gives us that balance of reasoning by rules and norms. This one. the decision to do something with unknown results. But this is in the earth suit, right? So there's not that wild, crazy abandon. This is a 3. This is the decision to do something with unknown results, but it's in the earth. It's slow. It's investing and starting, but not going crazy. Now, if it were a 5, we might get something else. But here it's a 3. It's the new, trying out the new. And that is being balanced with the 8 of Wands. And I love these wands. You see the red ribbons tying each one of the wands together in a lattice? The 8 of Wands, it is rapid action, right? It's movement, quick decisions, effortless action, clearing the path ahead with extreme concentration, focused creativity, which we got in the Knight or King of Wands in this week's larger spread. So we're asked to balance these two aspects, right? With this balancing card, we're asked to balance this decision to do something unknown, investing, starting a project, in an earthy, slow way, with the 8 of Wands, which is extreme concentration, quick decisions, effortless action, clear the path ahead, rapid movement forward. We want to balance both of these. Now, in the larger spread, we were balancing air and earth, right? Which are ill-dignified. Here we are balancing earth and fire, which are not ill-dignified. They walk comfortably together. And so we can find an easier balance, I think, with the 3 of Coins and the 8 of Wands. Although they are different, we can find the balance more easily, I think, here. But still, that's what we're asked to do. To do that, to do the new, to invest, start something new, to make the decision to do something with potentially unknown results, and add some spark of fire to that, add some rapidity, some effortlessness, some extreme concentration and focused creativity. But not going wild with that because this is restrained by this, right? And so we've got an interesting oracle card at the bottom that gives us some advice or maybe a summation. And from the Mildred Payne oracle deck, we got astral projection. Let me describe this card to you. In this card, we see a young girl curled, she's kind of curled up in her warm bed and she's dreaming the night away. Her unconscious, her subconscious energy is now transcending the limits of her mortal body into a new dimension of possibilities. She must be careful not to stray too far, for a band of treacherous spirits look to cut her spiritual cord and steal her soul. Now you see those spirits around here, right? So we're called to what? Go beyond our limits. Connect with spirit. Engage our vision. But don't go too crazy, right? Don't go too far away because we could disconnect ourselves from ourselves. I think that's both the summation and the advice for this week's spread, is to do this. Yeah? Remembering this, remembering balance, harmony, maturity. But do these things by going beyond our limits, doing something new, walking. We got that in the large spread this week. Walk away from the table. Don't just walk away from the table, walk out of the room and just do something new. Go beyond the limits that we've set for ourselves, right? Does that make sense? Can you see how this brief, concise message echoes very strongly the large message of this week's larger 5-element spread? I think this is just amazingly wonderful. I hope you do too. And so friends, thank you very much for walking through this with me. And your being here helped me to focus and to concentrate and to be creative and to see how things are connected. Your presence helps me greatly, and I'm deeply appreciative for you. If you want a reading from me, either with Terre de Marseille or Terre de Marseille adjacent decks, or with a Smith-Waite or a Harris-Crowley deck, let me know in the comments below, or my email address is below. Shoot me an email. We'll get you a reading. Okay? So friends, thank you so much. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.